Greetings all. All right, I'm stepping up here to do a little, see if I can get at least a couple more moonologies done over the next couple of days. Because Stace and I have had a crazy busy week, and it's hard for him and I to find time this week to sit down and read together. So I've let him know I'm just going to do at least one or two of these moonology reads. And what I've pulled off top is South Node. Ooh, and my mom is beaming me in my ear. Something wants to be said about the South Node here. The card itself says, don't let your past hold you back. And I can see the sign of the Taurus right here. Let's see here. See if I can find the South Node. I apologize. Still kind of trying to figure out where all these things are at in this book so I can read it to you. Oh, it's because it's a special moon card. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, it's a special moon card. Don't let your past hold you back, South Node. The South Node, like the North Node, is a karmic point, but it's opposite to the North Node and relates to the past, perhaps even to past lives. Whatever you're going through and whatever you're asking about, there's a chance that age-old programming and conditioning is stopping you from achieving all that you might. Do not feel stuck. Do you feel stuck in something? Pardon. This card will often come as a sign that the situation or relationship you're asking about has somehow become suffocating, even toxic. It suggests that someone, you even, needs to be released, that there's some kind of addiction going on or an unhealthy attachment that needs to be sorted out. One thing is for sure. When you get this card, you're being challenged to make some changes, even if staying where you are feels easier and safer. Attuned to the moon. I release the past. Additional meanings for this card. A relationship is karmic and has played out across many lifetimes. Your attraction to someone may be verging on the obsessive. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. The teaching. The South Node is where the moon crosses the ecliptic going south. On the horoscope chart, it shows us that we are likely to become obsessed with, shows us what we are likely to become obsessed with, but which will probably do us little or no good. The South Node is the karmic astrological point that reminds us of the well-known phrase, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Okay, so no change equals no change, essentially, is what we're talking about. So we're starting off with somebody that is either repeating cycles, and let me tell you something, I of all people understand that. It took me forever and a day to learn to set down old cycles. Or we are currently in a toxic relationship that we maybe need to let go. Okay, it might be we're with a karmic, but let's find out a little bit more. Let's get a little bit more on the downline here and find out what we need to know. All right. Well, we have somebody that wants a new cup of love, okay, or something new. They want to create something new, but a tower is being pulled, okay? So it's sudden upheaval, broken pride, disaster, and renovation. Somebody is getting something completely yanked down, right behind the fact that they want a new cup of love. Might be a King of Cups. Who's a skeptic. So we've got a King of Cups here with the Four of Cups. Somebody that's a skeptic, has a very negative outlook, doesn't often see the gifts, the things that Spirit wants to give them. They typically focus on kind of negative things in the Three Cups without seeing the gifts that Spirit's trying to give them. Right here. And they're in the Nine of Swords, so they're having anxiety, fear, sleepless nights, restlessness, things like that. Anything else? Oh, a couple more. But they're getting the world as long as they start learning how to manage with temperance. That's balance. That's taking things. And here's what you need to temper before you go running after a new cup of Ace of Cups, my mom says. You need to temper old trauma, grief, depression, heartbreak. You need to literally, if you want that new cycle, of love, my mom says, what you're going to have to do is pay attention to why a tower is being pulled on you by Spirit. We literally started off with somebody that's repeating patterns. My mom is saying this is somebody that likes to repeat patterns. No change plus no change equals no change. Somebody out there wants a new Ace of Cups, but they're in the middle of Spirit pulling a tower upon them. We have a King of Cups here involved. My mom says this King of Cups is involved somehow in the tower pull. Typically, the King of Cups is somebody that's considered compassionate, caring, affectionate, and friendly. Okay? But at the moment, this King of Cups is actually skeptical, not seeing the nice things that Spirit is trying to give to them. And they're right in the middle of having nightmares, insomnia, anxiety, depression, things like this. This is a cycle that my mom says Spirit wants you to close out, to learn how to close out. And stop repeating, because you guys, whoever this is for, have pulled the South Node. Karmics. In other words, what my mom is saying, and Spirit is saying, because my mom is who guides me 99% of the time these days, is that you repeat karmic cycles over and over again, and no change plus no change equals no change. And in order to actually have the world in the upright, close out that cycle is what they're saying, you need to learn to temper the shit that's in the bad cup that causes heartbreak, okay? Somebody out there needs to learn how to take the stuff that's in the shit cup, get themselves some help, and then be able to transmute that, onto the other cup. And, you know, make it be something that anybody would want to drink from. So this tells me, yes, I'm getting some woundings for you. To figure out what it is you need to set down in order to get rid of this habit and this pattern. This is a habit and a pattern that I can tell you almost every Gen Xer, unless they were just absolutely lucky enough to come from a decent boomer parent home, and not many of us were, have had to at some point in our lives figure out a way to address. So this came to you in the upside down, so it's something that you're not yet working on transmutating. A fear of change. That kind of makes sense for this person, actually. This makes a lot of sense for this person. No change plus no change equals no change is exactly what I said. And for this person, you've got it in the upside down. You're not even looking at or thinking about changing what it is that's in the shit cup and transmuting it over into the new cup. All right, a fear of change shows up as resistance or anxiety towards new experiences, often rooted in past instability or fear of the unknown. It may manifest as fear of loss, self-doubt, or clinging to comfort, urging you to trust your resilience and embrace growth. This fear can keep you confined to familiar patterns. This is what this read is all about. This is exactly what it said when I read the South Node card for you. Urging you to trust your resilience and embrace growth, this fear can keep you confined to familiar patterns, even when part of you knows you have outgrown them. Okay? We have a King of Cups here that's very fearful of changing. And my mom on the other side is literally, she's saying, Missy, this is a storyline that you are all too familiar with, and that's so true. In order to change, this person truly needs a tower. This King of Cups needs a tower. And that's exactly what Spirit is saying. You want a new cup of love, but we want a tower. A tower pulls every single thing from this person down, makes it all rubble and ash, and then it allows you to rebuild. So the way I'm reading this for this King of Cups, who is very, skeptical, negative, holds a negative outlook typically, and even has a lot of anxiety, depression, things like that. In order to close out that cycle, my mom is saying, you have to learn how to do temperance with the Three of Swords, the ship that's in the old cup. My mom is saying this is just one of those ones that I can speak directly to, because when I was in my 20s, I ran from relationship to relationship, job to job, state to state, following a lot of trauma. I have an official, and I carry an official diagnosis of complex PTSD, as many, many, many from my generation do. But there was a time that I eventually stopped, and I, call it divine intervention. This was before I did an awakening. I stopped and I said, okay, it's not all the men, it's me. And this is exactly what my mom is saying somebody else is going through out there. Somebody else is flitting from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, job to job to job to job, possibly state to state to state to state. My mom is saying that fear of change that you're unwilling to look at, she's saying you likely probably have quite a few of the same woundings and things like this that I held once upon a time, and that I had to learn to set down and forgive. Okay? Whoever this is out there that's still going through this in the South Node, they're doing that because they don't want to change. They're not willing to change, but they keep asking. My mom says, you keep asking the universe for new cups of love over and over and over and over and over again. But you're forgetting that wherever you go, there you are. Okay? No matter how many of these cups they hand to you, they're saying to tell this person, you're still going to be skeptical. Every relationship, my mom says, you go into, you have a negative outlook. You overly think about things like this. They want a tower pulled on this, because they see that what is inside of your soul, my mom is saying to tell you, what is actually inside of your soul is compassion, caring, affectionate, and friendly. They want whoever this King of Cups is to realize that they are all of that. But they're saying you're not going to do that until you allow them to pull that tower. What you're going to do is remain in these 9 of Swords and 4 of Cups and keep a cycle open that needs to be closed. Okay? So I'm really glad that my mom is able to allow me to sit here and share with somebody else out there my once upon a time being in a South Node that I just could not seem to get myself out of until it just finally occurred to me, it's not all the men. And let me tell you something, if you actually go and see and talk to somebody and stop being fearful of that tower and those changes and closing out things that no longer serve you, you're going to find, I bet, my mom's saying, you're going to find exactly what I had to find and learn about myself. And I did this years before my awakening actually occurred. I literally sat down and talked to a professional and figured out why. What is it about me? And then, of course, I had to unpack and delayer everything that had been occurring to me just in successive motion, you know. I lost my parents very young. You know, my mom, I can now hear her, but forever and a day I couldn't hear her. I couldn't talk back and forth. Not only did I have CPTSD, but I was also in heavy grief that remained undealt with. So, and you know, I experienced severe childhood abuse and neglect at the hands of my stepdad. And my mom, while she was here on this side, didn't do what she should have been doing to protect me. So, and that is a storyline that many Gen Xers share in common. Okay? If a tower needs to happen and needs to occur for this person, for the King of Cups, I'm sitting here thinking about how tarot doesn't dictate, you know, whether we're talking to a masculine or a feminine, and my mom is saying we're definitely talking to the men. If a tower needs to occur for, and it does, my mom is saying for so many out there, that tower still needs to be pulled. Because all you're doing right now is flitting. She says you're flitting. She says the bird here represents exactly what I did back in my 20s. Many of our men, she's saying, are still flitting from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. Okay? That tower needs to happen for you. Okay? She's saying you may end up having to do what I had to do and just listen to what Spirit is trying to say to you, because I don't even know what made me decide. I do now, but back then I was like, I have no idea how I managed to get to that one thought that told me, can't be all the men. There must be something with me that I need to change. And she says, so many are still in this, but they see you. They see the good qualities in you on the other side. They see the things that need to change. They see that you're capable of being compassionate, caring, affectionate, and friendly. But you're allowing these things to stand at the moment. Whoever this is, you're allowing. And my mom is saying, yeah, a lot of it is still our Gen X men, but it's also some of our youngers too. She says this is both sides. I'm going to go ahead and pull some Kippery, see if there's anything else I can see here. I mean, this is a very heavy call to action, to start talking to somebody. Start really and truly talking to somebody about the things that you have experienced in your past that make you flip from relationship to relationship, job to job, state to state. if you're doing the state thing. I know I was forever and a day. They're waiting on you. They're waiting on you to decide that it's time to pull a tower, my mom says. They expect it. Right now, you are flitting from relationship to relationship, person to person, job to job, possibly even state to state, and they want you to know that they see this just as they saw this with me, is that equates to energy theft. We're unnecessarily stealing energy, my mom is saying, from others. We're wasting people's time. We're wasting people's good hearts. We're wasting people's good love because we haven't done the works inside of ourselves that needs to be done, my mom says. And this is one that I fully understand simply because in my 20s, this was who I was. And so she is saying this is current and active for so many of our men, it's not even funny. And you need to understand and you need to hear. Anyone that runs into this, wherever you go, there you are. Okay? No change plus no change equals no change. And it doesn't matter, my mom is saying to tell you, and I can verify this is true, doesn't matter how many of these that they hand you, that they offer to you. You are still going to be somebody that has yet to pull the tower and pull yourself back down to the rubble and then rebuild yourself into something new. You're going to have the same outcome, my mom says, every single time. Close one cycle, one unhealthy cycle that's turned into toxicity, and then simply open the next one. She says that this is for so many out there, it's not even funny. Because she said for my generation, the men that they are doing wake and shakes with are going to discover that this is exactly where they have been for years and years and years. That they haven't looked at those behaviors the way I finally did right before I hit my 30s. I got the spirit calling without realizing at the time it was spirit calling, saying, hello, knock knock, wherever you go, there you are. It's you that has to do the changing so that you can choose better when these are handed to you in earnest moving forward. All right. That's a tough message, but I know it's one that has to be delivered. My mom says she thinks that I eventually heard the message, the calling, and heeded it. I've pulled a dark shadow card, distrust. Okay? Faith in oneself can rebuild trust in others. It's exactly what they're asking you to do, is to understand that wherever you go, there you are, okay? They can keep handing you all of these in the world, but until you pull this, break yourself down and go figure out, what is it about me that makes me flit from this to this to this to this to this over and over and over and over and over again, and repeat the same cycle over and over and over again. Without that willingness to be able to stay and do hard works, it's just easier to, basically identify. My mom is saying, whether you realize this or not, one of the things that you do is exactly what I had to work on, because it's so common when we engage in stuff like this. She says one of the things you do is that you always find something wrong with someone else. Okay? She said all of us are humans and all of us have work and rebuilds to do and things like this, but this person that is currently, she said it's people, it's multiple souls that are still in the middle. The folks that are still doing this, okay? that are flitting from relationship to relationship, new page of cups to new page of cups to new page of cups. You're doing so because you have yet to pull that tower. You utilize the Four of Cups to say, hey, there's something wrong with this page of cups, instead of looking at the fives with yourself. Okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull. I'm going to pull an angel number first. I think I hear my dude Fudu. You may come in and say hi to us. I'm going to pull an angel number for this person. See if he comes in and says hi. We're here. Here we go. We've got 0606. Okay. Loyalty, responsibility, truth, love, light, spiritual realm, growth, and solutions. That's exactly what they're suggesting. They want one of these right on top of you so that you may first go down to the ground and then come back up and rebuild. Applying honesty and light daily is a fast track to creating a peaceful and meaningful life. It's how you find solutions and comforts. Release worries by speaking your truth and expressing emotions regularly. Open up, for the best is yet to come. It's exactly what I had to do to address and pull a tower. And that's exactly what Spirit helped me do to pull a tower, was to go and sit down and open up to somebody that's professional that can explain to you and help you layer by layer pull all of that old trauma off and away from yourself. Because at this moment, what Spirit is saying is that for you, no change plus no change equals no change still. Okay? These days with Stace, when we, full moon, we'll catch him and I every time with a still a little bit. And every single month that we've been together, it just gets better and better and better, because at some point along the way, he's done psychological counseling. I've done psychological counseling. I've done more than one round. Even when I'm feeling good. Mental health is important for all of us. Mental health is health for all of us. And my mom wants me to acknowledge something. She wants me to acknowledge for you out there that, she was a boomer. And she wants those in my generation to know this is a cry in a good kind of thing, good kind of way for me. Because anytime she says something like this to me, it means something to me. Her generation, and many that are still on this planet from her generation, simply did not believe in mental health help. And so they didn't know to send our generation in for what we need. Millennials were the first to start saying, you know what, mental health needs to happen. The Zeds have picked it up even better. And I'll tell you what, as my two Zed kids were with me full time, anytime I've suspected that they need to go sit down and talk to somebody professionally about a thing, I don't hesitate. I've done that for myself, and my mom wants you out there to know that, they just didn't know enough about it, and there was such massive stigma on mental health while my mom was still on this side of the realm in the 3D with us. And so she wants me to acknowledge that for you guys out there. Whoever is doing this is literally doing something that I used to do. Okay, I had a period of time in my life in my 20s that following my mom's death and a very traumatic event with my ex, that I should have had some tool sets, tools in the tool belt, some emotional tools in the tool belt at the time, but I didn't because that was our generation. It literally caused me to run from relationship to relationship, job to job, state to state. I couldn't stay in a relationship following my mom's death because literally between that and this thing that happened to me with an ex that was very severe, I hit that camel breaking point. And because we didn't have a good understanding of mental health and what it really looked like at that time, and we still had our boomer parents treating mental health as if you put you air your dirty laundry to the rest of the world out there. That was the running around that I did. But I found every relationship that I was in, post that, my mom's death and then that very traumatic thing that happened to me, that it didn't matter how many of these that the universe was handing off to me, because I would find something wrong in every single last one of these new cups. And I went through a period of time in my life that I could not stay in a relationship any longer than that 9-month period, maybe 9 to 11 months, without me self-sabotaging that relationship in every kind of way. That takes, in order to get over this, they're asking me to very strongly, very, very, very strongly share with this person that they see as is normally a very kind person, a very loving person, that you must pull one of these. And in order to pull one of these, it comes back down to mental health help. Okay? And I'm glad that we are finally, and my mom is saying she is too, we are finally in a day and age where we can recognize and talk across to one another and say, you know what, these are the things that happened to me. This is what helped me to put it down. In this case, it really does boil down to somebody out there is doing a no change plus no change equals no change when it comes to cups of love. And my mom is saying, actually many of you are, and that's going to be part of the wake and shake for the men on our side, because you're going to be doing the works that I had to do back in my late 20s before I hit 30, is what she's saying. But she's saying she's seeing several on the younger side too, the millennials, the Zeds, that are doing this flitting from cup to cup to cup thing, that need to pull towers upon themselves, okay? They're telling you, you need to go get mental health help and see what it is that you need to remove layer by layer by layer by layer. As our Gen X men are coming online more and more and more, there's something out there called the ACEs. It's all about, your childhood abuse and neglect and things that you experienced. I think it's called adverse childhood experiences. It's called ACEs. My mom is saying, since I took that a couple of times while I was still working in teaching profession, and she's asking me to share with the rest of you out there that many from my generation are going to find themselves in shock that they are even still on this side of the veil. After you take those ACEs ACEs, and I think there's some free ones online, but my mom is saying to the Gen X men in particular, take an ACEs. You will be shocked and amazed at how strong you are and the fact that you are even still on this side of the veil. And that's what I found too. My score was so high on that ACEs stuff that, literally all the things that need to be set down, if you look at it, you realize how incredibly, I'm trying to make sure I word this right because it's been a while since I've done an ACEs thing, but she's reminding me and showing me that I did that, and that I had they saw on the other side how very shocked I was at the time that I was still here. She's saying, for the men out there, think about things like coronary heart disease, how high your stress levels are in constant flux. She said, this is going to be incredibly important for those in my generation. She says, if you don't believe what they're saying and you don't believe the messaging, by all means take an ACEs test for yourself. And then you're going to find that no change plus no change equals no change. You are still carrying all of the ACEs from your childhood, she said. She said to tell you this. Many, many, many of the men from my generation, Gen X, are still carrying a ton of ACEs from their childhood. And what you're going to find is you're going to be shocked. And she said, you're going to have the same reaction I did. Like, how the hell am I even still here? Okay? And that's what it looks like. I'm really glad they pulled me up, to do this monology because, one of the messages I always get from the one and only reader that can even read for me all the time is that it's always been their intention that Stace and I talk about the road that we've had to travel on in order to get to where we are now, to bring the awareness to that, and that, my generation, our generation, is like the number one generation still out there that is so resistant to mental health. And so my mom is saying, as you join and as you wake and shake, many of you, she says, at some point or other are going to start running into readers like myself that they've activated to tell you how important it is that you start looking at the mental health component of what's going on with you, because no change plus no change equals no change, and you're going to always and forever be stuck in this unless you start looking at that. And she's saying, if you don't believe me, because you don't know me, by all means, go online and look up the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, ACEs, and then put your scores in, and then ask yourself for yourself, do I need mental health counseling? And then she wants me to acknowledge that for the youngers out there, the reason that they had those who feel very strongly against the Gen X parents that they have, there's this acknowledgement on the other side of how much damage was done to us, to where, if we were able to be stabilized parents and not be in severe mental health situations and crises with you out there, you're lucky and blessed. But she said the bulk of us carry the same childhood trauma wounds. And that's because we took those wounds directly from her side, her generation, while she was still on this side of the veil. Okay? They acknowledge that. The other side is saying there's a huge acknowledgement piece for them, and they want us to be able to, particularly, we know that, my mom is saying, we know on this side of the veil how incredibly hard it is for the men in particular. It's been so hard for them to address mental health unless they have been forced to do so because they're in so much trouble legally, things like this. The ones they're waking and shaking are some of the hardest energies. And so for the youngers, my mom is saying, you guys need to understand that a wake and shake with the Gen X men is not an easy thing to do. Not from this side of the veil and not from that one either. Because as you can see, she said, especially if it's the Gen Xers, they've been living for half a century and no change plus no change equals no change. I'm really glad they pulled me to the table for this one. They keep telling me I should always be willing to talk about my past and very openly, and I do. I know I have, you know, and once they get that diagnosis of, so the bulk of us are going to have complex PTSD diagnoses. By the way, there's something that is happening and occurring with those of us that have complex PTSD from our childhoods in particular. They're starting to recognize that other diagnoses, especially for our generation, and or for those that have been in severe abuse or trauma at some point, the DSM-5 is going to be updated to include complex PTSD. If it hasn't been already, it's been missing complex PTSD forever and a day, but mental health professionals out there are starting to figure out that other diagnoses that people take, such as bipolar, if they have a diagnosis of complex PTSD and they were severely abused as children, they recognize that bipolar often goes right up underneath that complex PTSD diagnosis. Those who have complex PTSD, many of the symptoms often look like personality disorders, things like that. And what my mom is saying is that it's so important that as you're coming online and as you keep asking them over and over and over again for these new cups of love, they really want to stop doing that. They want you to see who you are, and they want you to do the work. They want you to transmute all the things that were ever in your shit cup over into something that is drinkable, something that even you can drink, my mom says. That's what this reading is all about. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and pull for you guys, because this one's kind of gone on for a bit. I do apologize. I'm going to go ahead and pull for you guys. Actually, my mom says this one's meant to go on for a bit, because those who are meant to find it, and your readers are going to be my mom says readers are going to start seeing this over and over again out there. Let's see if there's like a time frame for any of you that may be joining my channel to start addressing this. Next week looks promising. Next week looks promising for somebody out there to get this message, for this message to start going out and about. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull a Sacred Forest card for you. I don't normally get a lot of, heavy readings like this, but this is one that they wanted out there from our side to yours, so that others can understand who they are and why they're asking you to pull a tower. All right. This is a good one already. So we have number 6, Bluebell Fairy Gratitude. This is something that as you start doing mental health help and the work, you put in the work, you become, and especially for those in the Wake and Shake, you're going to find that gratitude is such a huge piece of, the process. Eventually, I had to write the book of every single thing and then give forgiveness. And I am now at the point that I can even give gratitude for the experiences, because here I am, I'm awakened. I'm also highly educated. I am one that I've never failed to see the gifts in things, even the hard things. So I really appreciate this message being put out there and them asking me to speak direct to this. All right, gratitude. The early morning forest is shrouded in low-lying mists. As you step into the meadow, you glimpse heavenly blue flowers seeming to float above the mist. Their deep color draws you closer. Each bell-shaped blossom bows down on its stem, as if in prayer, humility, and gratitude. Gratitude is the secret to a joy-filled life. True thankfulness can work like modern-day alchemy. Modern-day alchemy, my mom says. That's modern-day alchemy. Okay? yielding happiness and peace beyond imagination. Actually, my mom says to do this again for you. She says there's two pieces here that whether y'all realize it or not, the Tower and Temperance are modern day alchemy in order to take you out of the shit cup things that are in this side, the horrible, hard things, the awful things, out of all those old aces, she says, and transmute into something beautiful. All right. And it's so simple. Find what's good and wonderful in every moment. My mom says that's exactly what you'll be doing once you get the help you need. Okay? No matter what's happening around you, there's always something to be grateful for. Whatever you appreciate in life will grow. So discover what you're thankful for, even the people and situations you've found challenging, and watch miracles unfold. The universe and everyone on the other side loves you and is grateful for you. That's exactly what this card is. Right now, you're in a no change plus no change equals no change south node. That's where many, many, many of our men still are. And they're being, many, many, many of them are also being called and challenged to awaken. Engage in alchemy. Take the crap that's in this side of the cup and throw it over to that side of the cup. Okay? Pull a tower down. You pull a tower down on complex PTSD from our childhood, trust me, your everything is going into rubble. But my mom says to tell you exactly what I know to be true is you will thank yourself, your own spirit, your own, will thank yourself for what you're doing. The more of us that pull those towers, she's saying, and the more of us that do the alchemy and the temperance, and transmute all of those old ass childhood wounds that we're still holding on to in our collective, the higher we rise ourselves, the higher we help our children rise. Okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and roll some die. Yep, 54, 52. We have a 66-year-old. Yep, this is a Gen X message. It's time to work and keep working. They're targeting you Gen X men out there, and they want to talk to you in your dreams. Your parents on the other side, your ancestors on the other side, want you to take naps, and they want you to pay attention to your dreams. They're trying to help you get out of this south node, my mom is saying. We may have also 45-year-old, 42-year-old. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get some cranky charms out there. Ooh, so many. Grandpa. Yep, we're grandpas now. We're grandparents now. Grandpas, welcome to the Wake and Shake. My mom says, look at the alchemy, the science, the aces, do the aces. This is actual science you're being asked to do. Our naysayers out there, that continue to, pretend as though these things aren't important and that the old ways of behaving are going to be acceptable. No, you need to transmute. You need to transmute and fix those things, my mom is saying. Okay, there's actual science, backed up science by what they're having me give you on this message. Somebody out there, my mom says in your high school days you were in the band. We've got water energy. So somebody that's related to a cancer that also needs to get some help. Mermaid, yeah, very, very, very heavy. And it's all on the upside down and reverse is the way it's showing itself to me. So these two, basically that refers to, your emotions, your stability, things like this. They're in the upside down. Spirit wants to work with you, and here it is again. Okay? They want to work to get you right side up. And, oh, this is why I get fussed at. My mom says, notice how the octopus has 8 tentacles? She says, consider that there's at least that many woundings, that when you go sit down and they start pulling layer by layer by layer, they need to give you new tools in how to address these. This is a heavy 5 reading. I'll tell you what. All right, I've got 2 J's, an F, an O, and an L. My mom, the coffin, my mom says to tell someone out there, for now the coffin is in the upside down, but why do you think they're telling you? If you don't believe the crazy tarot lady, by all means, go take an ACEs test before that does that on you, okay? You look at those adverse childhood experiences, you're going to find out and figure out why you have high blood pressure, diabetes, things like this, and what you can do about it. The mental health component actually connects directly with the health component. Mental health is health. All right. You want love, but this heart was in the upside down. She's just saying, again, they can keep giving you as many cups of love as you think you're entitled to or wants to have, but you're just going to keep doing that same repeat pattern until you go and you do the work. Anytime I pull the dragon, I already know they're talking to Gen X. I don't know why, but I associate the dragon always with our generation, and my mom says as I should, because we are dragons. We're very protective. We know how to burn things away, stuff like this. So just your confirmation for Gen Xers. She said there's some younger ones out there too, possibly in their 40s, which would be, kind of older zennials maybe, or millennials, I'm not sure. You might be a dentist, or you may have a toothache. That person is also in the upside down and needs to go get some mental health help. We have somebody here that has one of the traditional religions running across their energy line. And my mom is saying that many of the religions, even many of the churches, are starting to figure out how incredibly important that mental health component is to keeping people healthy. We have a phoenix that's in the upside down, not ready to flip over, not ready to rise, okay? Not ready to burn away the old, which is why you're stuck in the south node, all right? And then last but not least, my mom says, this is confirmation that this I see as, this is a white kitty, but this white kitty also happens to look like Boo Boo Voodoo. And that's who that is for Stace and I, is we're each other's foodoos. So my mom is saying she just wants you guys all to know that my message is real, correct, and true. I identify with this message because it's something that I've had to look at and address for myself, okay? And that just to know you're not alone. She's saying, do the work, and you, in fact, will be able to find. She says many, many, many in our generation will be able to find. She's saying, men, hear this. You'll be able to find your very own Boo Boo Voodoo. Okay? All right, I hope this helps. I know it's a heavier message, but something that is very important to the other side, that they make sure that they acknowledge that these works still need to be done as our men are waking and shaking, and that they're not alone, okay? You're not alone. Collectively, as a generation, the damage that has been done to our generation and that has continued on with our kids. She's reminding me that they asked me to scrying. When I first scryed a message, about how powerful the transmutations will be for our men, and why why we think our men are, why they think and why they see our men are so afraid of the transmutation piece, is that you somehow think that it demasculates you. No, it helps you rebalance who you are. And if anything, it opens back up all of those things that you used to love, and so much more. There's a guy that I don't even know what his website is, but he calls it up spiraling. And he talks about how once you decide you're putting down the old habits and the old patterns, the amazing shit that comes back online for you, you're going to be shocked. And my mom says, yes, they're going to be shocked, because that's true. It's time. The other side is telling you, boys, I can call you boys, I mean you're men, you're men in our collective, but my mom is saying, because she refers to us as kids, and so she's saying, you boys, it's time, it's past time, and welcome to the Wake and Shake, Gen X. I love you all, take good care.